listening to this. You are the Resistance.
Come with me if you want to live.
Welcome to the now playing Terminator Retrospective series.
What is your mission?
It is Judgment Day for the Terminator films as we here at Now Playing watch and review all 4 films in the Terminator franchise in anticipation of McGee's new movie, Terminator Salvation, opening in theaters May 21st.
You can't do that. Wrong.
These conversations will be spoiler-filled critiques of the Terminator films, and as the films are R-rated, there may be some mild coarse language as well.
Win or lose, this war ends tonight.
Today we are discussing Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Nick Stahl, Claire Danes, Kristana Loken, and directed by Jonathan Mostow. I'm Arnie.
I'm Marjorie.
Stuart. Can I just laugh at the fact that Claire Danes is in this movie right off the bat?
Isn't she supposed to be like some hoity-toity actress?
Her last movie, I think, was Little Women.
Oh, that's a big departure from Little Women.
How to Make an American Quilt.
Oh, no, that was Winona Ryder.
Well, no, she was in both.
Oh, she was?
Yep.
Oh, I don't know my chick looks,
Yeah,
apparently.
she is. She was like the Winona Ryder in Training Wheels.
But she also had done Mod Squad.
Oh, good point, good point.
I mean, she's not exactly, who knows? It does seem strange. Nick Stahl seems almost equally strange to me.
But we still have Arnold, for this one anyway.
Arnold is back as another Terminator T-101 model sent back in time.
Who's aged and lost muscle mass.
Yeah, he's downright gaunt for Arnold in this
He's
one.
got some crow's feet on top of it all.
Yeah. I mean, don't want to knock the man. He still looks great. He's, 50-something in this? God knows, half his age. I'd never looked like that, but not the same Arnold, 20 years later.
And now, sent back in time, Kristana Loken as the TX, or Terminatrix.
Is that a better name for you? Do you like that one better, Arnie?
It's what they say in the movie.
But you seem to have a problem with the Terminator names thus far.
TX, well, yeah, it is more of a human name. I don't think computers would have gone to Roman numerals, but unless they were Roman computers. But right off the bat, how can you top Robert Patrick as the T-1000?
You can't.
You can't. And so they send a chick to wear leather to make us turned on, I guess?
That seemed to be the way to go. It's like, since we know that we can't do anyone bigger than Arnold because his ego won't allow it, and we can't do a Robert Patrick thing again, the only way to make it interesting is to change the gender, but which doesn't really make any sense because robots don't have gender.
And she even morphs into a guy at a point in the movie.
Really?
Yeah, well, she pretends to be the boyfriend of Claire Danes, or the fiancé.
Oh, of course. You're right.
The guy with the total dead performance, the only thing he did in that entire movie was act like he was high on something.
He looked like Zach Braff's stand-in.
Yeah, he kind of did.
But anyway, I digress. Yeah, it would seem to be a novelty. And you know what? I got to say right off the bat, I didn't see this movie in theaters because I suspected a stink bomb. It looked desperate. Oh, now it's a woman named a Terminatrix.
The dominatrix Terminatrix thing.
Yeah.
It seems pandering.
And then when I found out Cameron was not involved, I suspected the worst and then did not catch up with the movie until it was released on DVD.
Now, why was the Terminatrix sent back in time? She's there to kill John Connor's deputies. John Connor, now played by Nick Stahl. They just, how many actors have played John Connor now? Because we had some guy in part 1 who I think was supposed to be him. We had 2 different people in part 2. The guy with the binoculars at the beginning, and then
Edward Furlong.
And now you've got Nick Stahl. So we're up to 4 John Connors, and then there's...
And plus TV show and
then Christian Bale.
Right.
So they can't keep a John.
No, it's kind of like what became of the Batman series. They just keep going through them.
Well, may I just say, though, Bale's the first time the casting feels right. Because you look at Edward Furlong, and you're like, he saves the future. You look at Nick Stahl, you're like, he saves the future?
Yeah, maybe after he takes a shower.
Well, Nick Stahl as John Connor, he's living off the grid, so there's no way for the Terminatrix to find him. So she's there to kill all of his deputies, including Claire Danes, who plays Kate Brewster, John Connor's second in command, and his wife.
and veterinarian.
Yes.
I had a problem with this characterization. I thought it was weird that she is the daughter of a high-level military secrets administrative person, and she is probably only a few years out of high school, and she's working in a downtrodden LA veterinarian office.
Yeah, and she's kind of just a vet aide. She's not even the real veterinarian, because when the lady brings in her cat Hercules, she says, I'm sure Dr. So-and-so will come in if it's necessary.
Well, you got to go to school for a long time to be a vet. I mean, there's no way that she'd have those years notched in. But I guess it's supposed to be ironic. All the deputies of the future were working fast food stands or just kind of hanging out, drinking, making out, and they're not heroic. You know, they're just teenagers. They're just young kids.
But apparently they're not that big of a deal because she kills several of them. And, I guess we don't know how that's going to impact the future. But right away they say, though, the past can be changed because finally the Terminator succeeds in killing somebody who was in the future important.
I got a problem even more basic than this. How does Skynet exist to send anyone back anymore? It was changed forever. The end. Terminator 2 wrapped it up.
But it wasn't, because here we see the creation of Skynet.
It was delayed is all that happened. The technology was eventually discovered is the way I took it.
Because it says here that...
Now, I'm not defending this movie, but...
It's Judgment Day was supposed to be in 1997.
Yes.
And it didn't happen. And they even say that Linda Hamilton's character, we're going to talk about her, but she died of leukemia, but she held on to stay till Judgment Day to see it not happen. But then Judgment Day is now July 24th, 2004. So Skynet did continue. In Terminator 2, they didn't stop it. They merely put it on hold for 7 years.
I have a problem with that. That doesn't really make any sense.
So she was killing all the lieutenants, and John Connor was an added bonus, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Why did she stop at like 2 of the lieutenants or 3 of them?
Well, because she found John Connor and it briefly flashed primary target.
Yeah.
She finds that bloody rag in the vet office, sniffs it, and then it's like, she literally almost has an orgasm there. She's like, I found the one. I'm like, this is not hot. I don't know if this was intended to be hot, but that is just a little distasteful for me. But yeah, it was weird because you see Terminators do have emotions there. She got excited.
Well, and I have it down, if you notice, she smiled in this movie, and so did Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
And it was a smile, not a sneer or a smirk. And they're not supposed to have emotions or anything, and they have them.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, Arnold kept getting angry.
Uh-huh.
All right, I got a lot of problems with this movie, just because I am a plot purist, and I feel like this kind of poops on the plot of the last 2 movies.
It does. It takes a big old stinking dump on it, to be honest.
And in the last episode, I said that, Terminator 2 ends with a happy ending. And I remember when Alien 3 came out, and Stuart, you probably would be able to speak to this better than me even, but didn't James Cameron come out and say he didn't like Alien 3 because David Fincher took his happy ending and turned it into, like, Newt dies and everybody...
Well, he wasn't the only one in that one. There was a lot of gripings at the time about how disrespectful Fincher's grim take on the material was, but Cameron does not like that movie at all. He didn't like Alien 3 or Resurrection, but for some reason did enjoy Alien versus Predator, which
he was paid to like that, I'm sure.
I don't know, but I think maybe he could just laugh at that one, whereas the other ones felt like they were tarnishing his rep and what he had done with it. But this definitely feels like new blood, new people involved, and old people not.
Well, the thing is, the reason I brought up Alien is because here it feels like the same exact thing. At the end of Terminator 2, we have a happy ending, and James Cameron's big message here is there is no fate. We control our destiny. Mm-hmm. Humans are going to rise. And in this movie, it's like, nah, everything you did in Terminator 2 did nothing. Mm-hmm. We're just going to say, forget it. We can't have a happy ending when there's box office grosses to be had.
It's true. Arnold, his only defense of this is he's like, oh, no, Skynet is inevitable. Everything is inevitable. I'm like, wait, no, that is just, you can't say that. It just does not work with the story that you had previously told.
Yeah, it just feels like that. And the other thing that really bothered me going into this movie, the lack of Sarah Connor. Mm-hmm. Linda Hamilton wouldn't come back. They wouldn't write her the check. I guess Arnold made $30 million plus 20% of the gross for his role, so I guess they couldn't afford to buy Linda Hamilton. But to do it without Linda Hamilton, the strong female character, the thread that carried Terminator 1 and 2 so closely, to just go, yeah, she died of leukemia. How anticlimactic is that?
Yeah.
Not to mention she died in 97, and the events of Terminator, depending on which timeline you listen to, it was either 94 or 96. So you're telling me, like, after having turned into She-Ra and being the super tough woman, like, she just drops like that, like a stone? Not very believable.
This movie is what I was afraid that 2 would be. Because this is what happens when people take older movies and decide to make a sequel. Phantom Menace.
I think the word is greed.
Greed,
They
yeah.
made a sequel because they knew it would make money, not because there was more story to tell.
Now, I'm not a huge fan of King of the World James Cameron, really. He's made some good stuff, but I don't worship at his altar, especially post-Titanic. But the director of this is truly just a director for hire. He'd done U-571 before this, and Breakdown in 97, which, wasn't that a Kurt Russell film? I believe it was
a Kurt Russell B movie, yes. It's a highway killer movie, I believe.
Yeah, I actually saw that in theaters, strangely. But, and I mean, he's just a nobody. You take such an important series to our generation as Terminator 2, and you put it in the hands of hacks.
Yeah.
And
before they restored it and gave it to McG.
And put it in the hands of hacks. Let me say, though, McG is at least a bit more proven than Jonathan Mostow.
Oh, you know what? Oddly enough, Arnie, I remember reading a lot in the critical sphere of feeling like people did think he was going to amount to something. If you go back and read the reviews of Breakdown and U-571, they were very positive. And people thought he could be the next big thing. I don't get it. I didn't see those movies.
I saw U-571, and I will admit I liked it more than I thought I would. But, you know, the problem is this movie lacked vision. It seemed very small after Terminator 2 to come to this.
It's what you expect from a movie that was not set up for a sequel.
Yes.
Is that where they totally piss all over the plot and say, oh, by the way, what we said in the last movie, we were wrong.
And the only important person to them was Arnold.
Yeah.
They didn't care about Linda Hamilton. They didn't care about James Cameron.
They did care about the psychiatrist.
Well, yeah.
He was the common thread.
But it just really felt to me like this movie it doesn't fit with the other ones. And now, that's not to say that I don't enjoy this movie on some level. I don't hate this movie. But I just don't feel it fits with the other ones. And I just had to get that out of the way off the bat.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And as I said, I avoided this one. I actually thought it would be worse. When I saw it on DVD, I was actually relieved only by Arnold's low standards at that point. Because Arnold did not do well after Terminator 2 either. I mean, other than True Lies, another Cameron film, it was Last Action Hero, Eraser, Batman and Robin, Junior, End of Days. I mean...
Jingle All the Way?
There was a steep decline there. I mean, Batman and Robin is about as bad as it gets, really. I mean, End of Days, I saw it just tears running down my eyes laughing. It was so bad. So to see this and to see that there was at least an attempt to emulate Cameron's work, if not have a vision for where it can go beyond what it had done, was a relief.
But it felt to me as if somebody took the shrink ray to Terminator again, because I said in the second one, it felt like a retread of the first one for the first hour, but then it became so big. Now here in the third one, yawn. It's just the two Terminators chasing again.
And what killed it, to be honest, was it was not original, but I had a big problem seeing the first time this movie, the 30-minute long destruction sequence with the crane. That seemed like it was the entire movie, where she's in that crane and it's swung out to the side and they're tearing down a block. I told Arnie when we first saw it, is like they had a dilemma. They had to destroy part of a studio lot and film Terminator 3. Why don't we just combine them? That's
Two birds, one stone.
Exactly.
I like it. But you know what? I will say this, Marjorie, that is an impressive action scene. I did like the scene.
It does. It looked a little cheap to me because anytime the crane hit something, it was such a close-up shot, but yet you could see nothing around it. But then when they're running down the street, it's quite obviously a real street.
But after a while, you kind of get bored during that scene.
It goes on too long. This movie has no ambition, is what I think is the problem.
It's not that it goes on too long. There's long, long scenes in Terminator 2, but there is a thrust. We
Yes.
want to get to the end. History can be changed. Something is going to happen. And this one, it definitely feels like been there, done that, and now it's got a boob job. Like that is as big as they thought about changing it.
Well, she can make her boobs bigger.
This time, Terminator tits. You
Yeah.
know, that's
She used
Now,
it.
I have to say again, why did she need to steal that old woman's leather jacket? Because she can make clothes. She turns into the schlubby guy,
Yeah.
and then she turns back into the leather jacket. Why did she have to steal the clothes?
Because she's
Okay.
way hotter in the bootcut leather pants.
And at least if you're going to do the whole naked arriving thing, show the boobs, because they have her appearing in this ridiculously long hairdo. Like the wig is strategically placed over each breast.
Like the
Yeah.
Alanis Morissette video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you really wanted boobs.
And then the rest of the movie, she's got the Gwyneth Paltrow little haircut thing. It's like it's short and plastered to her head, and none of that. I'm like, I don't get it.
Well, it's actually tied up and back, if you notice, next time if you ever watch it again. It's
No.
actually put up on like a little bun kind of knot thing. But hey, there are hair products in the future because the Terminator knows how to style.
I personally think Skynet took way too long to get around to realizing the way to kill a man is through his penis.
Yeah, I guess. But I don't see why she had to be a seductress. There's no reason why it had to be a female this time and not the first time, for that matter. You
Well,
know, there's-
because they'd run out of ideas.
They needed to make it new.
Yes, it's because we need to create a new flavor in order to intrigue people.
It's artificial
And this-
adrenaline for the movie.
I do want to say this. The movie was released in 2003, which is also the year that the Gray Davis scandal here in California broke, and Arnold ended up running and winning as governor. I can't think of a more poorly timed PR move than to be running for governor under the scandals of how you might have treated women in the past and having a movie running in every city in America of you beating up a chick.
That's right. I forgot that he was accused of molesting a woman at the gym.
Well, what I read in reading this movie is that this movie was in many ways his play for governor. You said, why not show the Terminatrix boobs? Part of the toned down nature of this was a kinder, gentler governor. And what's funny is when I was watching it this time and I didn't see the boobs, and like she takes the saw to the fiance, but it's off screen and you just see the blood splatter. I'm like, is this movie PG-13? Because
Yeah.
I didn't understand why they'd pull their punches like that. And also, Arnold put up $6 million of his own salary to make this movie and make it in LA. It was going to be shot in Vancouver. And part of the whole keep the business in LA help him run for governor. So the governor run was very planned when this movie was being made. Perhaps he didn't expect the scandal news to get out. And so he could beat up the woman.
I think you might be right there, is that he thought that was long ancient history. The stories that I'm referring to are from the 70s. Yes, that's the thing. You run for office and everything is fair game. People will go back through everything.
This is why I'm never running for office.
I thought it's not the time to release the Me Against the Women movie, but oh well.
Back to the Terminatrix. The other problem I had with her is, again, I said at the beginning, how can you beat Robert Patrick? So how do you beat the liquid Terminator? It's liquid over an exoskeleton. So we're going to take the first two movies and just put them together like a Reese's peanut butter cup. And I don't see how liquid over that skeleton is worse, because now she can't melt through bars, she can't melt through holes. Yeah, she's got a gun and a flamethrower, but I don't know if that's really a good trade-off, because she used hand weapons. Why would she need hand weapons if her arm's a gun?
Well, the one thing that I noticed that's an improvement is Arnold says in part 2 that Robert Patrick can't form moving parts, chemical parts. He can't turn into a gun. He can't turn into a bomb. In this one, her hand can become a flamethrower. So obviously that some of that can be done. Was that her endoskeleton, or was that?
Yeah, that was her
liquid metal?
endoskeleton.
Oh, okay. So that wasn't like they had fixed the liquid metal.
No, she was liquid metal over an endoskeleton. So she couldn't become a floor. She couldn't melt through bars.
Yeah, I'm reminded of the Saturday Night Live skit. It's a floor wax and a dessert topping. Like you don't need these things to be it's like one or the other. We don't want both.
That was kind of my problem, is it just seems like almost a downgrade. Although, obviously, the licking of the blood to do the DNA test, was that supposed to be sexy? Because it just came off weird.
I think everything she did was supposed to be sexy, but sometimes it just was laughable. I got to say, right off the bat, when she gets in the car and she uses the cell phone, and then she does like the internet dial-up noise. Like, into the cell phone. I was very
the modem
confused.
connecting.
Yeah, she does the modem.
Yes. Not cute. And I mean, would you use a cell phone for dial-up anyway? I mean,
you do.
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And actually, you can, not to be too geeky, but you can actually use it back in the day to tether your laptop.
And you're
to
calling me the D.
internet.
Well, no, I appreciate some geekdom at this point, because I'm like, I don't think that that's true. what
Yeah,
she's
you can
doing.
do it.
Okay,
Absolutely.
all right.
But you can't do it like she did, where you're just, well, she's a robot, so who knows what she could do. But why didn't she just drill her finger into the cell phone? She could drill her finger into any machine to make it work. She could drill into the steering columns of cars and now have remote control cars. She could drill into Arnold's head and have remote control Arnold. Why not drill into the cell phone? Why does she have to make the sounds with her mouth?
Because you have to make the sounds, and it was recognizable then.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what?
Although there's a whole generation of kids now who are like, what's she doing?
Okay, yeah, there's two things in this movie. The first being the modem handshake, which we all know from 1994 through, 2000. But nowadays, people are going to be like, is she a fax machine?
Yeah.
The other thing, though, this movie is so dated. Is it just me, or did Talk to the Hand not hold up nearly as well as they had thought it would?
It's no hasta la vista, baby. I'll tell you that.
Talk to the Hand was out in Austin Powers. I mean, for Christ's sake. This movie
It was never in.
No.
It should be said. It was always the expression for a certain kind of diva-ish person that was
Or
always
Jerry
comical.
Springer.
Yeah, exactly. Not everyone, people didn't greet each other on the street with that expression. Yeah, it was of its time, and unfortunately, it was that time that this movie was made, because they never would have dared to do it now. And it's introduced, unfortunately, we mentioned the biker scene being one of the weaker comedic elements in Terminator 2. Well, they do it again in this one with a gender change. He walks into a biker bar, but it's ladies' night, and the men are up there stripping, and they love the fact that Arnold is naked. And the stripper is actually an effeminate guy who's like, talk to the hand.
Yeah.
And then Arnold does. He actually puts the hand up to his mouth. Give me your clothes.
I thought this movie was entirely too jokey from the get-go.
Yeah, what about the stripper's sunglasses that were the stars?
Yeah,
Yes.
and then he
It's like
steps
Elton
on
John 70s glasses, and Arnold puts it on.
It felt like a parody of Terminator 2.
It did, and it doesn't stay quite that jokey, thank God.
Oh,
but
yeah.
when I saw that scene, I remember thinking, "Oh God, this is going to be dreadful."
I thought it would be better if throughout the entire movie he wore the star glasses, because Terminators don't have fashion sense.
No, it opens up a problem.
Yes, he does.
How does he know?
Hold
They're
on.
just glasses.
All the Terminators are like, I like your car. I like your bike. I like your gun. They definitely have a sense of style.
But yeah, I understand, but I don't think they have a fashion sense. So therefore, how did he know those glasses were incredibly just wrong?
Yeah.
He knew.
He's not Bootsy Collins.
Well, he ends up trading them for some very Matrix-y looking shades, and I thought that was telling too, because this movie is coming 4 years after The Matrix, and I think the same year that Reloaded and Revolutions came out. And you can sense them trying to keep up with that. I did. I felt anyway. I felt the whole Skynet being part of the internet, which is what we learn, and that there's no center to it, really felt kind of like The Matrix to me.
Well, in a way, you could say The Matrix, which ripped off so many things to put in the pop culture blender, ripped off Terminator, because the machines were using men as slaves. They took it up a level and made us, pod people. But in many ways, The Matrix conceit is straight out of Terminator 1. So who's ripping off who at this point?
Right. Well, I didn't say ripping off, I mean to only imply that they're trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
This is a way of the Terminator
Or the
trying
Wachowskis.
Yes, the Wachowskis, as it were. They definitely could feel the heat that if they were to come back, that they're going to be compared against this movie.
Now, going back to the first movie when we talked on the first podcast about Terminator 1, played into the greatest fears of 1984. Nuclear war, computers, and somewhat Russians. This one plays to probably the biggest fears of 2003 with computer viruses. People are freaking out over the computer virus.
If they'd all gone Mac, Skynet wouldn't have happened.
Exactly.
Hi, I'm a Mac, and I'm Skynet.
And it was coming a little bit after Y2K. I mean, you guys do remember that was this whole fear.
Hey, I made a lot of money at Y2K.
I didn't know whether you wanted to go on record to talk about that, Arnie. I do remember. But yeah, there was this really exploited fear that at the turn of the millennium, all of our computers, everything was going to stop working. Planes would fall out of the sky. Everything that happens in this movie is sort of a representation of what people feared Y2K could be.
Y2K bought me a life-sized Han Solo in carbonite.
Wow.
Yeah, it does play on those fears, but I gotta say it's just not as effective. Computer viruses just simply aren't as scary as nuclear holocaust.
Perhaps in 2003 they were.
I don't
because
think so.
now I'm just like, oh yeah, just use AVG and you won't get it. It'll be okay.
I don't know. Overall, this whole movie felt like Terminator Light.
It did. It didn't. Not that it didn't have enough Terminator. It lacked enough of the backstory, I guess, to make it a Terminator movie. There's not enough real Skynet drama.
My other problem with this movie, well, I have quite a few, but I thought Arnold did a poor job.
He phoned it in.
He did. He didn't want to be there. I mean, if he wanted to be there, he didn't have enough moments where we see him connecting with the audience. Like Terminator 2, even though he's playing this emotionless robot, there are a lot of scenes where he is winking at the camera or connecting with the audience and we're cheering him on. In this one, he is a blank. He's a blank.
Yeah, he's not likable, and he's very quickly saying, I'm not the same Terminator. I'm fine with that. But there's nothing to make this character someone you root for. He's a jackass.
Yeah.
And he just, the whole thing didn't work for me. Something seemed off. And there was no humor in this movie other than Talk to the Hand. This movie was very without laughs.
No. There's lots of humor. It's just not funny, Arnie. There's tons of humor in here. There's lots of jokes. They're just very bad.
Okay, one of the biggest jokes which I thought was hilarious, and maybe it's because I'm a girl, and I don't know if Arnie can understand this, but when Claire Danes is talking to Nick Stahl about Mike Kripke's basement and how they almost made out, and the first thing that popped in my head was, she makes out with losers in basements?
I'm so glad you brought that up, Marjorie.
Because that's all I could think of was like, wow, this girl used to make out with losers in the basement. Because she talked about him being a loser and disappearing from everything, and she was going to make out with him in the basement, which, total junior high. But
and then his foster parents were killed.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're expected to believe that the day before the Terminator 2, Claire Danes and him are macking it up in some basement, and that she is holding on to that for all of this time afterwards.
I don't think she was holding on to it. She just remembered.
No, he remembered it. Oh, no, she remembered him from Mike Kripke's basement.
But she said in the movie the only reason she remembered is because the very next day he was on the news because he'd gone missing and his parents were killed.
So that goes back to her dad. Her dad must think, God, what the hell did I get to get this daughter?
Well, actually, when we were watching
making
the
out
movie,
with would-be killers.
You asked me where parents like this were when the father's giving the speech. You don't need me to put a rubber stamp on your husband. You have always done well in your life. Where are these parents?
Except when she's making out with the would-be killer in Mike Kripke's basement.
And what's funny is she was going to marry Scott Peterson. Now, they dubbed the line to change the guy's last name, but in the credits and in the script, her husband's name was Scott Peterson.
Perhaps
I didn't notice that. That's hilarious.
Yeah, they changed it. He's not like Scott Mohan, but...
Yeah.
And let's put a finer point on this. Her dad is a military man. He's got weight. He could have armed guards around her all the time. He is high up. Why she's not in private school in, Europe, I don't understand. That she's going to public school and making out with kids after school in the basement? Come on. This is not realistic.
And these are not the great kids that if she was making out with a kid in somebody's basement, this is not the guy she should be making out with.
Oh, he was the bad boy, though.
He wasn't the bad boy. No.
Hair and
there's a difference between you got your
Public
good
Enemy shirt.
You got your good kids, you got your bad/good kids, and then you got the bad kids. And he was down there with the bad kids.
Well, in this movie, he was a little dirty.
Yeah, I just felt like Nick Stahl is a strange lead because he's not good looking and he's just kind of awkward and dirty. You know what I mean?
He stutters a little. He's got a weird delivery.
I always think that everything he delivers, every line and every emotion, he always looks surprised. No matter what it is, the look on his face is utter awe. And I'm like, are you just surprised you're in this movie?
Keanu School of Acting.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
He went to Keanu's workshop.
Yeah, because everything he always looks shocked. Or has his mouth hanging open. He must be a mouth breather because his mouth is always open.
What I thought was funny was the
Maybe
opening...
she's ready to make out with you in the basement.
What I thought was funny was in the opening scene where we see him, as future John Connor with the scars on his face. It looked like a little kid playing dress up.
Mm-hmm.
He did not look tough. He looks
kind of tiny.
Yeah,
he does
he's
look
not
tiny.
Imposing. If I saw him coming at me, I'd be like, really?
Yeah, we've never seen John Connor the leader, and yeah, he's not changing my mind on this.
What's really awkward was when he's trying to reconnect with the Terminator. Don't you remember Hasta la Vista, baby? And I'm like, don't don't go. Are you talking to Arnold? Are you talking to the audience?
Yes.
But I have a question. Why was he living off the grid if they were confident they destroyed Skynet?
Well, the same reason that Sarah Connor's coffin was full of weapons. They just weren't sure.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense either. Because they knew what the gross was, and they knew there would be another one, and somehow, some way, they'd figure out how to bring it back.
Wouldn't it have been, honestly, a more interesting movie if they just had believed it wasn't going to happen? And sure, maybe Sarah Connor did die of leukemia in the 10 years in between, but John Connor's like married with a kid or something, and then the Terminator comes back and kills them. Something to add something personal to this story, because this whole story felt very impersonal.
I would go back, and I said this in the last podcast, and start not with John Connor, but start with the severed robotic arm. How about we start in a laboratory, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is a scientist studying the arm, and then we see the creation of the robots. Screw following John Connor. He's not the thrust of this story, and never has been. He was always just the thing people were chasing after.
So you're looking forward to Salvation, I take it.
Well, I mean, yeah, I know, right? We'll talk about that next podcast. But for me, it really always was about, well, in some ways, Sarah Connor and the chase. It's not about John Connor himself, It just, he's not the interesting thing. So for this movie to be all about him, it was a problem from the get-go for me. I thought it would be more interesting to see and to have a reason for why the Terminator future, although delayed, still occurred. I think that would have been a more interesting take on it. Yeah. I also think, and they play with it just barely, but not nearly enough for me, it would have been really fascinating and interesting to see Arnold turn back to a bad guy again. Like, I get that they send another Terminator back. Why would they get the same model and turn him good? Why can't we see Arnold be badass again? Why can't we see him be a threat again? To me, that would have been impressive, particularly when the Terminatrix reprograms him and he has to do her will and he is going to kill John Connor. Why not just go with that for the rest of the movie?
Because he was going to be governor.
All right. Yes, you're applying the exterior logic of the world to this. But I'm talking strictly from storycraft. How much more exciting and unexpected would that be to see Arnold bad guy again?
I'll tell you the reason why, and it doesn't have to do with the governor or anything. My feeling on this movie was that it was a kind of final hurrah and swan song for Arnold, because he's getting a little bit older, and this was post-heart attack and
post-Eraser and post-Batman and Robin.
And, maybe he was trying to bow out gracefully. It was one last hurrah from his biggest series, and this was what it was.
Perhaps the governorship caused this movie to be rushed, because it does feel so perfunctory.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what I'm saying is if we had gone my route, and, of course, I want screenwriting credit for this, but if you had Arnold, the human scientist, creating a lookalike of himself as the Terminator, and that was the bad guy, he could also still play the scientist good guy.
I would watch your movie.
There is a scene in the deleted scenes on the DVD, I haven't watched it, but I read about it, where they're building like an Arnold robot, and he talks with a southern accent.
Oh my gosh.
And they need to change that. And an off-screen Austrian scientist goes, I can fix that.
That's pretty good. A few of the jokes I did like, I will say. One joke I legitimately laughed at is when Claire Danes and Nick Stahl are running down the hallway, and a prototype of the flying killing death machines is chasing after them, and Claire Danes picks up the gun and blows it away, and he turns to her and goes, "You remind me of my mother." It's pretty good.
That is true. But in a way, despite having a Terminatrix, I really felt like this movie lacked the strong female characters that Stewart applauded in the past two films.
It did, because Claire Danes never really
She doesn't do anything other than that one gun scene.
Yeah.
And
it was
spends
predictable.
half the movie in the back of a truck screaming for help.
Yeah. But that gun scene was predictable. I thought, first time I saw it.
Oh, it was predictable, but I like the one-liner is all I'm saying.
Yeah. I don't think she made a very good transformation, and I think she was a very weak character, and she played the typical helpless female, or the whiny,
Well, I mean, we can't rule out the fact that her character at least could return and be tough again, much like Linda Hamilton was sort of weak in the first movie and strong in the second. But I just feel like Claire Danes herself, I mean, I feel like if we sat down with Claire for coffee, she'd confess that she was miscast and just took this for a paycheck. She's like, oh yeah, I have no business being in this movie. There's a scene where she literally leaps on Arnold Schwarzenegger and tries to attack him. I'm just like, okay, we should have known from just this that, like, okay, you're fired. You're going to go home now. We'll give you some money.
She was actually a last-minute replacement for another actress.
Is she really?
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. That's perfect.
Yeah, she came in like on the first day of shooting was her first day involved.
Holy shoot. Well, that explains a lot. All right.
And her character does come back in the next one.
Okay.
Is it Claire Danes?
No.
Oh, thank God.
Is it the original choice for who Claire Danes replaced?
No, I don't think that either.
Now, did you guys notice that this movie began kind of in the same vehicle that the last one ended in? And the Terminator 2 ended, they were driving and being chased, where they're in a small truck with like a camper topper. And that's how they ended up in, I don't know what, I guess that metal melting factory where they ended up. And in this one, her little vet vehicle is a truck with a topper.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
And they're both being chased by like semis or cranes.
So it kind of carried over that way, maybe to breed familiarity. And Toyota actually put out a special limited edition Terminator 3 Toyota Tundra because of that, because she drove a Tundra. But it was very Seinfeldian, I thought.
It ends as it begins.
Yes.
Here's something I'm going to put out there. Because we're always talking about the paradoxes and who caused what and everything.
Yeah.
Did the Arnold Terminator cause Judgment Day by sending them to the bunker in the Mojave Desert instead of letting them try to stop Skynet?
It wasn't. It was her dad that sent them. Her dad.
But it was her dad may have mentioned the place and gave them the codes, but then Arnold was like giving them the directions, and the whole movie was Arnold was there just to help them survive.
Mm-hmm.
It's inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was enabling it.
Yeah, I mean, in Terminator 2, he was there just for the same reason, but then John and Sarah say, no, we're going to stop this, and Arnold follows orders and gets on board. Here, despite the fact he's supposed to follow Claire Danes' orders, I guess she never articulated well enough, I am ordering you to stop Armageddon, because he never even tries.
No, it's kind of back to where the original one was, and that is everything's predetermined, everything is decided by fate, there's nothing you can do, and every time you think you're going to change your destiny, you're just falling into the plot of what is to be. And it's cynical in that respect, coming after the humanism of part 2 to think, oh, all of that work and everything they're going to do, and really nothing can be changed ever, and robot future is inevitable, and Arnold coming back 20 times is inevitable. And
So was it a statement, and they're kind of mad that Linda Hamilton wouldn't come back, and totally pissed on what her character...
No, I'm sure that the script was written, or fairly written, before the contract negotiations fell through there.
They might have had a loose script, because I imagine if you had a part for Sarah Connor, and then all of a sudden you don't, they had to do some major reworkings there.
I can't imagine what this movie would be with Sarah Connor. I mean, I'm sure
it might have been good.
Yeah, well, it would have been better for sure.
Because it just felt like going through the motions and felt like set up for a whole nother movie, possibly, which I don't know if that's what we're getting on Salvation. Because I don't know anything about Salvation, and I'm trying to keep it that way to not soil when I see it.
Well, that's the thing about this movie is the one thing it is a bridge from 2 to 4. You can't just skip 3, because in 4, Judgment Day has happened and the war has begun. And so if at the end of 2, you're like, la-di-da, we saved the world. And then at 4, you're like, holy shit, what happened in between?
And I do want to give him some props for going through with it, because it's not every major motion picture that ends with a cynical feeling of like, wow, we failed, and then the world blows up. I mean, it was kind of amazing that it happened that way.
That is very true. I hadn't thought about that. I think both times I've watched this movie, I watched it once in theaters and once for this podcast. By that point, I'm just kind of bored. And I don't get an impact, because after all the fighting with the Terminatrix, just fight after fight, the fights just didn't feel as inventive as they did.
You know why?
Part 2.
Because her features aren't as inventive as a Liquid Silver.
Mm-hmm.
How can you top that? I mean, the Robert Patrick Terminator is wonderful, and it's so amazing. And all she gets is like a little transformer arm that can shoot flame.
I guess I had no one in this movie to connect with, though. In Terminator 2, there's a lot of likable characters, mostly Arnold, but also to a point Furlong and Sarah Connor. In this movie, you don't really like Claire Danes, you don't really like Nick Stahl, and as we said, Arnold comes off very unlikable in this too. He's just a jerk. And so you're like, the fights don't mean anything at this point.
I think that's the absence of Cameron we're feeling. Cameron is a very emotional guy. Like, if you look at all of his movies, Titanic, I know, Arnie, you mentioned you don't like it, but that is from the heart, that movie. He puts it out there. These are big feelings, and he tries to get you to care about it. And in this one, it's very much business as usual, standard action. Oh, Arnold will say something funny here, and we'll get on with another car chase. Cameron would never go out that way. He would never have allowed a work of his movies to come out that was just about the action. It is always about the struggle, the emotion. It's gone from this, and it's palpable. I mean, you feel that the spirit has left the work.
What's funny is by casting Stahl and Danes, a couple of actual actors. I mean, I know, Marjorie, you said you don't like Nick Stahl. I think, he does some pretty good work in the right role, and he's kind of a chameleon. He's sometimes unrecognizable. I liked him in Carnival.
You were the only person who liked Carnival.
Well, admittedly, there were only 6 of us at the Save Carnival rally.
Yeah, that was pathetic. I don't think Nick Stahl's a good actor. I think he's kind of one note.
But my point is, by getting these actors in there, you almost think that their thought process is, let's bring in people who can carry a character, not people who can do the action scenes. But then they don't utilize them in any way. They're just Claire Danes, who is a pretty good actress, is stuck in the back of a truck.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's weird casting. It's a couple things. I don't sense that the actors themselves have connected to the material, and then consequently, I don't see their characters connecting with the audience. It's like nobody's heart is into this thing. Everyone knows this is just a vehicle to make more money. There's a very kind of cynical quality to all of it. And even though it's competent, I want to stress that I think this movie is infinitely watchable and not stupid. It's got no heart. It's got none of the character that I think about when I think about the last 2 movies, particularly Terminator 2.
It also doesn't stir up any... You don't ever have that pit in your stomach thinking, oh my God, they're not going to make it.
Right.
It just...
Even when they're not going to make it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
That sucks.
There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing there to make you root for any of the characters or care about them or to stir up any kind of feelings or emotions. I mean, movies should be some kind of emotion in you. You should watch something and feel something. Otherwise, you're just mindless. And that's how I felt watching it. Like, okay, yeah, something blew up. And I really think that they had a good opportunity to make a really cool action scene in that cemetery. And it was just kind of blah.
Well, the scene of Arnold carrying the coffin.
Arnold holding a casket, to me, says, yeah, this is the end. I mean, it doesn't say this is the series.
There was a lot of imagery. I thought that was a little bit of the swan song. And that was why I thought it was kind of his last hurrah. That and the Terminator Eye going out. Those were the 2 things that I saw as big images of my turn as an action star is done.
But I think a lot of these problems are the bar was set so high by the last one and the one before it, and they cast such a long shadow that this movie is, like Stuart said, competent and in fact to a degree enjoyable. It just does not measure up to what Terminator as crafted by James Cameron is.
Correct.
It's almost a totally different series, and it feels totally different. It doesn't have any of the ambition of either of the last 2. And the fact fact that it deals with such a huge issue as 3 billion people die today, and it just does it in such a lackadaisical manner.
Yeah.
It doesn't carry the weight, and it doesn't feel important. But that said, I actually enjoyed watching it this time better than the first time. The first time I was too much of a purist and went, this is going against everything Terminator was. This time I kind of turned off that switch and just watched the movie. And yeah, you know what? The action scenes go on a little bit too long. The dialogue's a little bit flat. The characters you can't totally connect with, but it's better than 90% of the action dreck that's out there.
It's not a Terminator film. It's just not a worthy follow-up, is how I feel about it. They do drop something that I want to say we've harshed a lot about how I don't care, I don't care. But I actually thought one of the things that was dropped into this that I thought was interesting about the characters was that Arnold says, in the future, I'm going to kill you, to John Connor. I think that's really interesting. I wonder if they're going to carry that over in Salvation.
Well, if what you said previously was true, they're already planning sequels to Salvation, then no. But...
Well, I guess I know stuff about the plot of Salvation that I don't feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah, because I don't know any. But the one thing that I felt about that is twofold. I had that in my notes as well. It's just dropped. I kill you on this day and date in July 4th, 2032. Yeah. Independence Day.
Well, you know what the problem was? In the first movie, you had the Ree-Sarah Connor relationship. Mm-hmm. In the second movie, you had the three of them. There was a threesome, and they had a relationship.
Wow, that's a different movie than I saw.
Yeah. Well, in this one, he did not have a relationship with anybody. No one had a relationship with anyone in that movie. John Connor and Kate Brewster were still fighting like cats and dogs pretty much until the end. And
I love the scene where Kate finds out she marries Nick Stahl and has this look on her face like, you?
Yeah.
That was good.
It just, no one developed a relationship in this movie. And that's part of its flatness. There was no connection between any of the characters. So as an audience, why should you get connected to any of the characters if no one else did?
But to the death of John, it's just dropped and it's never mentioned again. It's like, and because this movie's statement is there is fate and you can't change it, he now has his death date. I mean, I don't know about him. If it were me on July 4th, 2032, I'd be holed up with armed guards all around me at all directions, shooting at anybody who looks like Arnold. But
unless he just accepts that's his fate. I mean, we might see as he gets older, him being not trying to change destiny so much, but being a resigned old man who is fine with what he accomplished. And I mean, it's like I said, I'm really curious to know how much Terminator 4 is going to honor some of these things that were implied.
The one thing that I felt was a hedge, though, is if they could delay Judgment Day by 7 years, maybe they can delay his death. I mean, obviously he's going to die. We all die. But maybe it's not going to be on that date because he knows. You know, it goes back to the whole paradox thing, but I found it interesting that, yeah, he's the one who kills John Connor, and he's the one they choose to send back now to protect him. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, when the Terminator's sacrificing himself, he says, "We will meet again." Yeah, when you kill me.
Exactly, yeah.
That's not a good greeting.
No.
And shouldn't he have said, "I'll be back"? I mean, really?
Well, he's just a little bit more educated now, maybe.
I read something funny on IMDb. Apparently, the Terminator's definition of being back is crashing through a building with a vehicle. Because in Terminator 1, he says, "I'll be back," and crashes the car into the police station. Terminator 2, he says, "I'll be back," crashes the truck into the building. And in Terminator 3, he crashes a helicopter into a building, gets out and says, "I'm back." So I thought that was kind of amusing.
Only the insurance companies are happy about your return.
Did you guys enjoy seeing the creation of the Terminator series? We got to see the T1s, and they looked a little like Wall-E.
Yeah, I always I like Genesis stories, and I like when we get to go back and see how things start. And it was kind of satisfying having seen just glimpses of the future and what these future machines look like. To finally see where they're coming from is always satisfying. I enjoyed that. I'm not sure I enjoyed the actual battle in the military base. I did like the idea that we were seeing the war machines in their infancy.
But did you find it odd that the three of them could just walk into that top secure military
beyond
base
odd,
with
yes.
guns and they got in? Like, oh, my dad works there. Okay.
Yeah, it was falling apart at that point as a story. I mean, the whole thing, yeah, and then him getting gunned down, and it was just, yeah.
There's something I didn't understand in this movie, and if I missed it, maybe one of you could explain it to me. It said that the Terminatrix is an anti-Terminator Terminator. She's there to fight Terminators. Why does Skynet need that? Are they reprogramming Terminators by the buttload?
Maybe they have figured out that the Terminators can be manipulated by the humans.
I mean, it just seemed like a stretch that perhaps Skynet, rather than building an anti-Terminator Terminator, should put better security on the Terminators they have. It just seems useless to have an anti-Terminator Terminator in a war of machines versus humans.
Maybe it's a way of creating gender in a culture that doesn't have gender. You know, that's why she's female, because she isn't the masculine Terminator. I don't know. The gender politics are weird to me. I don't know why she needed to be a female. I don't know. There's this whole thing about she's making Arnold obsolete. And then, did you guys find the way that he takes care of her a little bit risque?
He shoves his power into her mouth.
Yes.
There is a lot of imagery in that if you wanted to really delve into that, because
yes, it felt very much like, you're not going to put me out to pasture, bitch.
Yeah.
And, again, if I were running for governor, not the commercial I'd run.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a lot to be said for, you know, the perceived, she's supposed to be the sexy Terminator, and he's taking something from his body and shoving it in her mouth.
Let me just say, though, if the T-101 has this dual-core explosive power, Sarah Connor's really lucky in 84 that when it was crushed, it didn't go boom.
Yes.
But this
that was a convenient plot device. I didn't like that.
This movie had gratuitous explosions. At the very beginning, Arnold is driving some vehicle and he hits the Terminatrix and drives her into the wall of the vet, and something next to them blows up.
Well, it was right next to some sort of gas factory.
I mean, this movie, when the crane is driving down, cars aren't just flipped, cars blow up. I mean, this movie had just gratuitous explosions. It was pornography for explosions.
Yeah.
It was. There was a lot of destruction in this movie, and it was probably, I bet it's the most destructive Terminator movie ever, because everything that was on screen at some point, I think, was either crashed, blown up, destroyed,
I'm surprised the coffin didn't blow up.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it wasn't an explosive coffin. But
yeah, deleted scenes. Who knows? Maybe it did.
We think Arnold made a lot at $30 million. You should have seen what the pyrotechnics guys made.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very gratuitous, and I had that in my notes, that it was just explosion, especially after that really long one in the beginning, because I think that really, it tried my patience. I'd like explosions like the next person, but come on. I mean, it's almost like Michael Bay made the movie.
I didn't mind the level of explosions. I wasn't so cool with the moment, I guess this is the scene you're talking about, where she was having things driving around by themselves.
Yeah, that's the same.
That was my beef with the thing. It's like when the cars are driving around by themselves, I couldn't only help but think of Maximum Overdrive, which can only make me unhappy.
I thought of Knight Rider myself. Now, one other thing that bugged me about this movie, the CG looked cheap. When they had the Terminatrix like against the magnet, you know what it reminded me of was Syl from that movie Species.
Mm-hmm.
It looked that level of cheap CG.
Yeah, when he was grabbing her and pulling her back too, it also looked like that.
And the whole fight between the Terminatrix and Arnold in the urinal, whenever they're like throwing each other, it just looks so obvious, like Arnold's making a motion and they're going to add the person later. Mm-hmm. It just looked so fake. And after Terminator 2, which we said holds up today, for a movie that was made 6 years ago to look so cheap.
Well, they spent all the money on Arnold.
Yeah.
I mean, he was expensive.
The most important special effect. Yeah, he's the most important special effects in the movie. We got the guy that was in the last two that everyone associates the movies with.
I honestly wonder if ILM was just so busy with Star Wars that they kind of farmed this out to the newbies and the low.
Well, they do. This special effects work. I mean, you sometimes have this conception that it's like one house doing it all, but it is not. The whole town does this work. Everybody works on everything, and it's just, you have to, because there's just too many special effects shots in a movie now. So there's ILM is the quality control, but they aren't doing all the work.
Yeah, some of it just looks so bad. I mean, it never looked better than Terminator 2. At best, it looked the same as Terminator 2, and many times it looked cheaper. And maybe it's because they were trying to do more and trying to, have this 100-pound woman pick up Arnold Schwarzenegger and throw him through a wall. And obviously, you can't do that without CG. But it just didn't look right. That whole fight just looked so composited.
It was. There's nothing natural about it. It felt forced. Although I guess there's something about that scene when she wraps her legs around him and pivots her waist around that sticks with me. I don't know what.
Yeah, that is true, and that was in the ad. That was effective, but it just, and honestly, perhaps it's the director. Maybe the camera angles were wrong for that fight, because in Terminator 2, I was talking about how the fist fight between the two Terminators was one of the best scenes, and here it's one of the worst, and it could simply be the camera angles on the setup and what they chose to show.
Well, I will say this, the movie doesn't look as good from a cinematographer's standpoint. If you go back to Terminator 2, I mean, the first Terminator was low budget. It looks how it looks. But the second one, it really gleams. And particularly when you watch the edition I did, the Extreme edition, they really cleaned it up. And it's this blue color. It's just this steely blue punctuated by explosions. And so there's a real contrast between the explosions and everything else. In this movie, it just looked flat. It wasn't stylish.
No.
This movie is not stylish. And it doesn't have that Cameron look.
It doesn't have blockbuster written all over it.
No, it is very much, we got to get this out before he gets too old and becomes governor. We got to put this out because it's been too long. There's something about it that feels assembly line. And it's, even though you can't appreciate and enjoy it for whatever it is, that's a come down. No one wants to see something that they thought was great become marginal.
And see, this is a problem I have with Terminator 4 Salvation because, okay, one, I'm not a Christian Bale fan, and I'm probably the only person in the entire world.
Ooh, we're going to fight. Yeah, we're going to fight. I love Christian Bale.
I'm actually not a fan either.
All right. I got to fight both of you.
I'm afraid he's going to destroy my movie that's already been destroyed. Because I don't think 3 was just kind of like, all right, I'll watch it as Terminator.
One of the things about 3 that's interesting is they wanted to make a couple movies at a time because they were doing it with Lord of the Rings and they were doing it with Matrix.
And it makes sense budget-wise.
And to end it where they ended, it clearly feels like there's another chapter here. This is the Empire Strikes Back of the Terminator films, and that it's got that ending where, like, the main characters live barely, but the world's gone to shit.
Yes,
and
you're right.
So now it's like, I could understand why they'd want to make a couple, but the fact that it's taken 6 years doesn't bode all that well.
You know what? Some of this is financial. This is backstory stuff, but the ownership of this property has gone all over the map, and they go bust. I mean, that's the thing. Is like when you watch Terminator 2, you see the lavishness of the effects and the money. Well, that caught up with the company. It worked for Terminator, and Terminator 2 paid for itself, but they spent that kind of money on everything, and they went under. And then someone new bought them, and then they're probably going to go under. I mean, it's just the level of injection of cash that it takes to achieve these things. You really need major motion picture support, and this has always been kind of, I mean, it was Carolco. It was a mini major.
Yeah,
it was not a major studio.
They were the Lionsgate of their time.
Exactly.
They were like Orion. I miss Orion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Me too.
But Terminator 4 is primarily written by the writers of Terminator 3, with a rewrite, a fairly significant rewrite added later by somebody else. But the primary script comes from the same writers. So that's going to be good for cohesion to this movie, I think, but bad. Hopefully the rewrite adds the character that this movie was lacking.
But isn't Christian Bale a big enough star now where he's not going to be in crap?
Yes.
Okay.
I kind of agree with you. I've never seen him take a paycheck for a paycheck's sake. Yes, he does big movies, but usually there's something about them that's interesting.
I mean, I expect crap out of Nick Stahl, but I would think that Christian Bale is a big enough star, especially riding off Batman and everything else, that he's not going to make a movie that is like this movie,
but
like Terminator 3.
I
know, but I can respect him. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I can respect the man, and I'm sure he acted fine in Batman. I just personally don't like him. I find him kind of annoying, but I recognize the fact that he does make movies that people enjoy, and I think he's above just taking one for a paycheck.
We will have the Christian Bale debate for sure at the next podcast.
Yes.
He is the only thing, in my estimation, that makes me encouraged about Terminator 4. I otherwise would be skipping this movie, but because he is in it, I have faith in him to deliver something above where the series is otherwise heading, which is downward.
See, See, and that's how I feel. I don't like him as an actor. However, I do recognize and have faith that he's not going to make a crappy movie.
Well, we will discuss this in the next movie because we've all been building up to the release of Terminator Salvation. But to end our discussion on Terminator 3 Rise of the Machine, Marjorie and Stuart, do you recommend this movie?
I recommend it if you're going to see part 4. If you want to remain a purist and watch 1 and 2 only, don't watch 3 because it totally blows all of the storyline away and it doesn't have any of the magic that the others had. If you're just going to remain a purist, I would stop at 1991.
I'm reminded of being asked what I thought of Matrix 2 in the summer it was released. I was like, well, it wasn't that great, but I think it's all going to pay off when we see the next one. It's a middle one. That didn't work out so well. So I would like to hold back my review until I see Terminator Salvation. I don't know that I can recommend this movie until I see it. If Terminator 4 is great, then yes, see this movie. If it sucks, just stop it at 2, and there's no need to go on.
So the salvation will be the salvation of Terminator 3?
It better salvage something here, because this series is on the precipice of getting real bad.
To recommend for me this movie is kind of hard because recommending Terminator 1 and 2, I can do so wholeheartedly because I think they're great films. This movie, I recommend it, but again, it's like I said before, it doesn't come anywhere near as high as the others. But if I'm just looking at this movie standalone, it's an enjoyable time. It just doesn't live up to the mastery of the previous ones, but I do give it a weak recommendation. And it may be required viewing as the bridge movie. This may be this Terminator series Search for Spock, but we'll find out when we see Terminator Salvation.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
And Marjorie Stewart, thank you once again for joining me.
You bet.
And be sure to listen to our previous 2 Terminator discussions. You can find them at nowplayingpodcast.com, where you can also find our previous series where we discuss the Friday the 13th movies and the Star Trek movies and other individual movie reviews there as well. There's also forums where you can let us know what you think of these podcasts, or you can email us at show@nowplayingpodcast.com. And we'll be back with Terminator Salvation.
Thank you for joining us for this installment of Now Playing's look back at the Terminator movie series. Now Playing is a Venganza Media production and is not affiliated with the Halcyon Company or Warner Brothers Pictures.
The unknown future rolls toward us. I face it for the first time with a sense of hope.
Be sure to come back to NowPlayingPodcast.com to listen to new installments of our Terminator Retrospective, culminating in a weekend of release review of Terminator Salvation, opening May 21st. Until next time,
hasta la vista, baby.
Yeah, we can get into that geek mode where we're really talking about some minutia. If we hit on something really trivial, we can probably obsess over it for a good couple minutes.
Really?
You can stop it. Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
okay.
You may not know that about Arnie, but he gets a little geeky sometimes.
Oh my god, I didn't know. All these years.
Yeah.
This is the podcast series where we all try our Austrian accents.
Yeah, mine's not good, sorry.